Hey y'all, I'm back with my January 2023 reading wrap up. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. Y'all, I was hoping to start the year off right by reading some amazing books in the month of January. I wanted all 5-star reads. Unfortunately, the books that I read in the month of January, they were not 5-star reads, but I'm still going to talk about them because even though they weren't amazing, they were still pretty good, interesting reads. They kept my attention all the way to the end. I didn't have to force myself to read any of them. They just weren't the outstanding reads that I was hoping for. And I told myself this year that I'm going to be a lot more stingy with my ratings. I feel like sometimes I can rate books a little higher than I should. So this year I'm going to be a little more thorough with my rating system. Let's get right into the books that I read. I read a total of 4 books. All 4 were audiobooks. And the first book I was super excited to read because this book came out probably the last quarter of 2022, around November and December, and all of the reading groups that I'm in took off talking about this book. A lot of readers call this their favorite book of 2022, and the book that I am speaking of is Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. I absolutely love the title of this book. I love the Beverly and May song. I love the Beyonce homecoming version. This book is about Yasmin and Josiah. The two of them are newly divorced. They're co-parenting their 2 children. And what really drove this couple apart was they shared a loss of a child as well as the loss of the matriarch of their family, who inspired them to start a restaurant called Grits, where they were in business together. The two of them broke up because they handled grief completely different. Josiah felt like, yes, I endured these losses in my life, but I have to keep this restaurant up and running in order to take care of my family. Whereas Yasmin really grieved hard. She fell into depression, and this led to Yasmin deciding that she can't do the marriage anymore. Like, she needs room to grieve. She needs room to just get her life back on track. And so this book is what we would call a second chance romance. Within this book, the two of them, they're sorting through the feelings that they still have for each other, the love they still have for each other. I thought this book had a really great premise. I think it's so amazing how a lot of women could relate to this book. I really enjoyed participating in book clubs and book discussions and hearing Black women talk about how much they related to this book, or they knew couples who this is exactly what happened. However, when it comes to me, I was not a huge fan of this book. I rated this book 3 stars. I know, it's so relatable. It's well written. It's beautiful. It talks about mental health for the whole Black family. So I love that we were talking about mental health and wellness within this book. However, when it comes to romance, y'all know I love spiciness. I love a little drama. I love a little messiness. I like cutesy moments and romance and dates. When it comes to romance, I like what I like. This book just lacked that drama. After some time reflecting, I definitely understand why the author did not put another big event in this book, because they've gone through so much trauma and because they are reflecting over those traumatic events that happened. I understand why she did not want to put these characters through anything else. But to me, it left for a book that kind of dragged on a little bit. Like, I needed those peaks and valleys of drama, of romantic elements, and I was not getting that. I don't think it was a horrible book. It's not one of my favorites. Book number 2 was The Butcher by Jennifer Hillier. I'm going to say it right off the bat. I gave this book 2 stars. I did not like it. It is a thriller book, and the butcher is this serial killer who people think are dead, but within the first chapter, we realize that they framed the man, called him the butcher, killed him, but the real butcher is alive and well, still kicking and still killing people, just doing it more strategically now. And I just didn't like how the butcher was just this vile character. Like, he didn't just kill people, he did some disgusting things, and a lot of his victims were young women, underage women, and it was just hard for me to enjoy a book that was that vile. What could have redeemed this book is there's a character named Sam. She suspects her mother is one of the victims of the butcher. However, her mother was killed after the butcher was killed, and everybody is like, yay, the butcher is dead, no more killings. Her mother is killed in a similar fashion, and she's convinced that that wasn't the butcher who actually died. And of course, as the reader, you know from chapter 1 that she's correct. What really kept me reading this book is I wanted her to make that discovery. I wanted her to get justice. I wanted her to get vengeance. And sis was dumb. Like, she was not seeing that the butcher was literally sitting right across from you, girl. Like, you real chummy with who the real butcher is, and you don't even know it. And so I didn't like this book. They should have really been able to find out who the butcher was a lot sooner, and because of it, I was just annoyed. I probably won't read anything else from this author. This was a non-Black author. The one Black character in this book, the author described the doorman as his skin color was as dark as his jacket. And I assumed the jacket was Black, and so I just feel like it's 2023. We need to be describing Black characters a lot better. There are so many ways to describe Black characters than as Black as his coat with sparkling white teeth. I didn't like that. So yeah, this book gets 2 stars, and I probably won't read any more from this author. Book number 3 is The Rose That Got Away by Christina C. Jones. This book was actually not centered around a romance, and I love that she put that disclaimer in the summary. Thank you for the disclaimer, because I would have been like, hold up, what's going on here? This book was a part of her Rose series, so it was about a rose and a thorn reuniting to take down some bad guys. I'm just impressed that Christina was able to give a lot of action, which I'm not surprised, because one of my favorite books by her, Deuces Wild, Ace had a lot of action in that book. She actually took down the Rose organization within that book, and that is how we now have the Rose and Thorn series. Of course, I would have loved more romance, but I mean, I was okay with it not being heavy on the romance, but sis was hinting to steamy scenes and didn't go there, and I'm like, nah, come on now. You didn't have to do 5 minutes describing the scene, but you could have gave me a little something. The tension been building, and you just gonna kiss and end scene? No, ma'am. You could have gave me more. She could have gave me more than that. So I gave this book 4 stars, and I look forward to reading the next book in the Rose and Thorn series. The last book that I read in the month of January was Should Have Been by Alexandria House. Y'all know Alexandria House is becoming one of my go-to Black authors when it comes to romance, and this book was really interesting. It was about Truth and Claudette, and the two of them, they sparked this romance while the two of them were actually in other relationships. And so this book goes back and forth to them meeting when they both had partners, them sneaking around when they both had partners, and how years later they end up back together. And so I thought it was a cute short story. I was a little confused because they were going back and forth, and I would be like, okay, so this is in the past. Okay, so this is in the now. And so that kind of had me lost a little bit. I thought it was cute, and y'all know I like a little messiness in my romance. So I'm here for a little sneaking around when both of them got people. I like a little messiness, y'all. I give this book 3 stars because it was a short story. So, of course, I usually take off because I just want more from these short stories. That's it for my January 2023 reads. Get down in those comments and let me know what you read in January. I can't wait to come back and talk to y'all about my February reads. I'm challenging myself to only read books by Black authors, which is not hard for me because if you guys have noticed, 95% of the books that I read on this channel in general are by Black authors. So I'm excited to let y'all know what books I picked. Thanks again for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.